All right, everybody. Sorry it's been a while since my last video due to some technical difficulties. I've had trouble doing one. So I'm back. I wanted you to, didn't want you all to think that I had abandoned you all. I know that y'all tune in looking for new content. So those of you that do subscribe, I appreciate it. And if you're watching and would like to subscribe, that'd be great too. Uh, anyway, let's get back into my shelf here. I've got a shelf here that I haven't even started, so I'm going to go ahead and get started on it, show you a few things here. A lot of creature features in this one, some of the Something Weird titles that are horror related. They have a lot of other stuff that isn't horror related that I'm not going to cover, but anyway. One of my all-time favorites, Piranha, Roger Corman's version. They did a reboot of this, and they did a good reboot of it, except it's not the same movie. It's totally different. But I absolutely love this one, and always have. So, and there, speaking of the reboot, there it is. And this was in 3D when it was released theatrically. And you can probably buy it on DVD or Blu-ray in 3D as well. I think Blu-ray, maybe not DVD. Crocodile. This is an Asian-produced film. I remember seeing this at the mom and pop video stores when I was a kid growing up, rented it, watched it. I think this is a slightly censored version. I don't know if there's ever been an uncensored version of this released. I could be wrong on that, but that's what I heard, that it was missing, because it's not very graphic where you think it will be. But it kind of a Jaws ripoff. It's okay. It's not bad, you know. It's worth a couple watches. Tobe Hooper did this one. It doesn't have the greatest CGI, didn't have the biggest budget, but this was actually a pretty good movie. Performances were fine. It has some good pacing. So I love crocodiles, so any crocodile movie is pretty much fair game for me. Crocodile 2 Death Swamp. I like this movie, but honestly, it just has way too much language for me. There's just a ridiculous amount of language in this film. But I liked it. I mean, it was a good crocodile movie. Not that I haven't heard all those words and that, you know, I've gotten kind of somewhat numb to it, but just kind of gets annoying and unnecessary for me. You notice I don't use any language in my videos, which is fine. If you want to, and that's the way you want to roll, that's fine. I just don't do that. I don't want you to have to worry about watching this around your kids, other than them maybe being scared a little bit of the box art. Anyway, Lake Placid. This is a classic. Now they've made several really bad sequels to this movie. Some are okay, but most of them were made for cable television. Lake Placid, the original. If you've seen the sequels and have not seen the original, don't let that steer you off of it, because the original is miles above the other one, as far as, in my humble opinion. One of my favorites that really needs a re-release badly. This is one of my favorite movies of all time. Robert Forster, Robin Riker, Alligator. Absolutely love Alligator. Little boy flushes alligator down. Well, he doesn't flush. His parents flush that baby alligator down the toilet, and it lives off of hormone-treated test animals in the sewer and grows to monstrous proportions and wrecks all kinds of havoc. Absolutely a fantastic, fun movie. So if you can find it, I mean, get it. It is fantastic. Here's some of the Something Weird titles that are horror related. They have more that aren't, but they do have some good ones that are. Rattlers. This is a surprisingly engaging horror flick. It's PG, but don't let that steer you. PG in the 70s was something totally different than what a PG is now. So if you like your snake movies, which like I do, this is a really fun movie. Here's one that's been going for a pretty good amount of money on Amazon last I checked. This one is called The Child, which I actually rented this on video when I was younger. And I absolutely love The Child. The Child is so wild, whacked out, and bonkers and crazy, and it's actually genuinely scary in parts. It's actually really good. I would recommend The Child if you can find it. Like I said, kind of a collectible now. That's another movie that I think deserves a full restoration and maybe a Blu-ray release. I think that would be nice. It deserves it. It really is good. Carnival of Blood and Curse of the Headless Horseman. I'm going to be honest, Curse of the Headless Horseman is a great sleeping pill. If you want me to go to sleep, put that on. It'll bore you to death. Carnival of Blood has a quirky charm. Excuse me. You get to see Coney Island back in the 70s, what it looked like. And most of the movie takes place there. And it's got some really interesting characters in it. You kind of feel like by the time the movie's over, that you kind of got to know the characters well. The characters are well developed. I think I like this movie a little more than a lot of people. I think I'm a little charitable in some people's opinion, but it's like all of us. We like what we like, and I think Carnival of Blood. You can find it on quite a few public domain prints. I don't know if any of the other prints have ever been better than the Something Weird one. The Something Weird one, even though they don't do massive restoration to the film prints, that kind of adds to the 1970s drive-in atmosphere. But the colors pop out pretty good. It looks like they did do some color correcting on it if they didn't do much else, but it works. This is just a hodgepodge of all kinds of weird little short films, and it's got one or two movies on it. The movie that is on it is a movie called Tormented. But actually, this is a weird little thing. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but it's definitely worth the purchase. It's got a main menu where everything in it's basically an Easter egg. You got to search for everything that's on this disc, and it's jam packed. Let me tell you, it is packed full of crazy stuff. And Monsters Crash the Pajama Party is a hoot. It's just totally ridiculous and funny. So if you can track this down, again, these Something Weird titles are basically out of print. You can still find a few of them. Amazon's got some of them for a good price, or you can go straight to the Something Weird Videos website. I think it's somethingweird.com, and you can find some of them there. The ones that they seem to, that they don't really have in stock anymore, that seem to command the high dollar, are the ones that are basically softcore pornography. Those are, and honestly, when I was younger, I had some of those, and some of them, frankly, were just boring, and I got rid of them, and now I kind of wish I hadn't got rid of 2 or 3 of them, because they're worth quite a bit, apparently now, but I wouldn't. I mean, like I said before, I collect films because I enjoy watching them. If I've watched a film once or twice, 3 times, and I know I'm never going to revisit it, and I have no emotional connection to it, there have been a few instances where I've gotten rid of it where I wanted the money worse than I wanted to keep the disc. So, and a few of these Something Weird titles have been victim to that. Blood Freak, anti-drug movie, Thanksgiving horror movie. So yeah, I know. How do you get an anti-drug and a Thanksgiving horror movie wrapped up into one? Well, they figured out how to do it. Here it is, Blood Freak. Again, weird movie, Something Weird. It definitely, the label is appropriate. Blood Freak is pretty fun, though. It's nuts. These I remember being okay. I didn't love them, and I can't remember. I think I liked the Crypt of Dark Secrets a little more than the Naked Witch, but these are both, for a double feature, for the price, it wasn't bad. I think you can still get this. I don't think this one's real expensive, but I could be wrong. These things go up and down in price. I guess it depends on what people actually pay for them. Here's a recent edition. Paid a little more for this than maybe I wanted to, but it wasn't incredibly expensive. Dr. Gore, also known as The Body Shop. This is a man that worked with Herschel Gordon Lewis. His name is J.G. Patterson. He worked with Herschel Gordon Lewis, who was, Lucio Fulci has been called the Godfather of Gore, but Herschel Gordon Lewis was actually before him, and he was called the Godfather of Gore. So I would say that Herschel Gordon Lewis is the true Godfather, but Lucio Fulci was a master. But anyway, this movie is interesting. I haven't watched it all the way through yet, but what I've seen of it is definitely old, late, mid-60s grindhouse. For one of the first movies to kind of go there, so to speak, as far as being really crazy with the gore and stuff. So Dr. Gore, if you can find it. It's not as expensive as some of the other Something Weird titles are right now. Here's an old edition. I'm sorry, I'm having a little trouble digging one or two of these out here. But I will get this out to show you. This is like the first printing of Basket Case. It later on had a Something Weird release, and I think it got widescreen treatment and stuff. I think this is full screen, but it still looks good. It's an old Gem Image DVD, one of the old originals back from the early days, and Basket Case is a Frank Henenlotter film that's absolutely a real viewing treat. Most of his movies are like Frankenhooker and Brain Damage, and they made lots of sequels to Basket Case, and for whatever reason, I never did see the sequels. Now, I mentioned Herschel Gordon Lewis earlier. One of probably my favorite of all his films that I've seen, 2000 Maniacs. This is the original Something Weird release of it on DVD. Now, I do have the Blood Trilogy on Blu-ray, so when I get to my Blu-rays, you'll see that one. But, yeah, 2000 Maniacs. I just love the crazy bonkers movie in this, and it's definitely mean-spirited. I mean, it's a horror movie all the way. I mean, but they try to inject humor in it, and almost, I don't know if it really works for this film, but it definitely adds to the creepiness and the oddness of it. It definitely gives you a weird feeling. 2000 Maniacs, basically about the ghosts of the southern town doesn't care much for Yankees and decides to make them part of their festival, their bicentennial celebration. Well, how they celebrate with these Yankees, I'm sure you can imagine. It's a horror flick. These Yankees don't know being the guest of honor means. It's not a good thing. Here's one that doesn't exist anymore. This is the old New Concord edition. It's the Carnosaur collection. Carnosaur 1, 2, and 3. Apparently 3 is the rarest one now. These movies are all fun. The first Carnosaur came out about the time Jurassic Park did. Roger Corman seems to follow trends a lot with his movies and make lower budget movies with similar subject matter to other popular films. I really like these Carnosaur films. The first one, especially. The second one is probably even better. And then the third one doesn't really get as much love, and I think it's better than what people say about it. I think it was. I was entertained by it, so. Anyway, so that was the Carnosaur collection. I need to see what else I got here. Oh, yes. Q, the Winged Serpent, Larry Cohen goodness. Basically, dinosaur attacking New York City. I don't know what else to say. It's crazy. It's nuts, and critics actually liked it. It's unusual for a critic to like a horror movie, but most of the critics seem to like Q. And it's fairly cheap on Blu-ray. I think it's like around $10, maybe a little less sometimes. So that would be worth upgrading at some point, probably. I have not watched these yet, but I got a good deal on them, and I'm going to watch them. This is a Midnight Madness collection from Blue Underground, The Fifth Chord, the Forbidden Photos of a Lady Above Suspicion, and the Pajama Girl Case. And these are all in excellent shape. I got this set for $10, and the nice thing is all the discs are individual. There's no compression or anything, so everything looks nice. So there they are. That's what it looks like. I think you can still get this. I don't think it's out of print, but I could be wrong. Most of the Blue Underground stuff stays around for a little while, except for their limited editions and whatnot. But anyway, like I said, I got a good deal on it. This I had to track down because I really wanted the movie Epitaph, which was also known as Mommy's Epitaph. Also has Play Dead, which stars Yvonne DiCarlo, who's a horror actress who has been around for a long time and has a little bit of a following. Death by Dialogue, I heard, wasn't very good. It's the only one I haven't watched yet. I will at some point, but it's one of the Toxie's triple terror sets, and there was 7 of them made, and this is number 7 of 7. And they each have their own little individual cases for each of the movies there. I'm sure you can probably see that. There you go. There. So anyway. So I'd say this collection's worth these 2 alone if you can track it down. Again, Troma movies aren't usually have the best remastering. They usually aren't the best transfers, but if it's the only way to get the movie and you like the movie and it's watchable, go for it, I'm not going to let this video run too much longer. I don't like them to run too long. Be considerate of your time. Here's a good one. Just picked this one up recently. And this looks like the old Anchor Bay version, but it's not. It's the Blue Underground version. You can tell from the lower corner where it says Blue Underground. Anguish. This movie took all different kinds of twists and turns that I wasn't expecting. And actually ended up being pretty fun. It's got Zelda Rubinstein, probably best known for her role in the movie Poltergeist. Carol Ann. But anyway, Anguish is quite a bit of fun. It's all over the place. You never know what direction. It's almost as if they didn't know what direction they wanted to go with it at times. It ended up being a pretty fun movie, so I really enjoyed it. I'll take out a few more of these here, see what I got. Okay, I already covered the Mega Shark collection. I showed you this in the first video. It just ended up on the shelf when I reorganized. And let's see, Waxwork, The Unholy Chud 2, Chopping Mall. I think I showed you this one in the first video. I really enjoyed that one, of course. Waxwork especially. I like the Ghoulie series. I haven't watched Chud 2 yet, but heard it was good. The Unholy, I've got on Blu-ray now. And Slaughter High, lead actor of that movie killed himself right after the movie. And this is, even though this is a multi-pack, this is the uncut version of that movie, which was pretty impressive. That they got that kind of that rare uncut version of Slaughter High. It's that one in the middle right there. But anyway, I don't want to say too much more about that. I don't know if this is really a horror movie, but it's was directed by was this Brian De Palma? Yeah, it was. Anyway, this whole murder is just a tragic thing, and I've always been kind of fascinated that years later this case still mystifies people. So at some point I am going to watch that. I got this for fairly cheap. I think it was brand new, but I got it for like $2 or $3. I already covered that one. Here's a weird one. About a guy, well, it's basically, I don't know. I don't want to be too explicit on this, but anyway, it's called Love Object. Basically a guy who wants a doll for his pleasure. I think I'll put it that way. And he gets a little obsessed with this thing, and he sees this girl at work, and he fantasizes about her, loves her, and so he goes to this special doll company that makes dolls, and has them make the doll look like her, and he ends up actually getting a chance to kind of end up being boyfriends with her, and she discovers the doll, and it totally creeps her out. And this movie was way more enjoyable than I expected. I honestly, going into this one, didn't expect much, and a friend of mine bought it, and he let me borrow it, and then I ended up getting it from Gerb's grocery store that had a video. How a lot of these grocery stores, everybody had a video department, and then they sold off all their stock when rentals kind of went out of favor. Well, I'm so close to completing the shelf, I think I'm just going to go ahead and go through it and be done with it. So I'm about there. I already covered that one, and I've already covered that one. So actually, folks, I'm done. So I appreciate what time you gave me. I hope you found some of these titles interesting, or maybe some of these are some that you haven't heard of before, and you're like, oh, that looks good. I like the box art, or you like my recommendations. I try to keep them pretty short and to the point. I'm probably a little different in that regard to some of the other people on YouTube that you see that do this. But anyway, I do appreciate your time. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, if you would like to. I'm not going to twist your arm. I ain't going to hold it against you if you don't. But I would really appreciate it. I'm just a normal guy that likes these crazy horror movies that I grew up with, and I'm just happy that I have this outlet to share my passion with people. That's the main reason I do it. I'm not trying to make tons of money off of Facebook or anything, and that's fine if you do. And if it ends up being a nice source of income, I never heard anybody that had so much money they didn't need more of it. Everybody's got bills to pay. So I appreciate your time again, and this doesn't need to be a long goodbye. So I will be doing another video soon, and again, appreciate you watching. Take care. Y'all have a good one. I'm going to poke it.